All right. Into order, it is 5:02. And get to materials. Usually we have comments first.
We did roll call first. So Chair Shrubnik.
Yeah.
President, Vice Chair Dombrowski. Board Member Perry. Board Member Mead. Board Member Arndt.
Here.
Board Member Mankey. Here. Board Member Zorns. Alternate Board Member Dodd.
Here.
Alternate Board Member Loutzis. Here. Four.
It's okay, is there any public comment? Do we have anybody here that is interested in making public comment?
We have received written comments. If you wish to make public comment at this time, there's a
Yes,
sign
yeah.
sheet over there. Please fill it in at some point during the
So
evening.
we'll do on-site, and then if there's anybody online. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks for having me again. I'm sorry I inundated you with some paperwork, but I wanted to highlight a few things.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Michael. So what we have in front of you is what I presented before, highlights the NPRSA area. It shows the site that Woodinville City Council has forwarded to NPRSA. We voted for that. We funded it. It's a site that meets all the criteria that we've been talking about. It has centrally located. It's right off 522. It took us at the time 4:30. Took us about 20 minutes from the site to get here. And I highlight that because to be usable, it has to be accessible to everybody in the NPRSA. And so the map, people are often surprised at how far east the NPRSA area goes and how far north. So I highlighted that. Along with that, you have this shows the feeder patterns to the schools. And it's not exactly accurate, but there was a comment recently that it's on the other side of 405 where all the schools here that are shown to the right are schools that are mostly on the other side of 405 that would be accessible to the site. Also, we have you're going to get this, but this is the map that shows the drive times in the NPRSA area to our site. And then also along with this, we have letters of support that I've been able to put together. We have a swim team, we have water robotics, we have water polo, we have the North Shore School District in support of the concept of this site and the ability to have a pool that their swim teams can utilize and maybe a good anchor tenant for the site. And I'd like to emphasize that, we're looking to be good partners with Woodinville, supporting greatly. It took some doing for our council to put forward millions of dollars for this site. We think that this serves NPRSA the best. It's the highest scoring site that you have, and I think it's the only site that's been approved by council to board. So, thank you.
Did you mention there was a draft?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Anybody else here on site?
I am here on site. James Randolph, I am resident and deputy mayor. First, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Chair Zabresnik and Vice Chair Dombrowski, who looks like he's on the screen, and all members here. Like most people who enjoy coming to data-driven solutions, and I love to enumerate facts and data, that's what my point of view. Placing this project in Woodinville would most definitely select the site that's highest graded. The market-based parts can move forward with criteria that was set forth by this organization. We'd be selecting the site that is near the central of the NPRSA. The property is appropriate size for the activities desired by our constituents and community. A site with connectivity to the area about 405, 522, 202, and Woodinville Duval Road to some of the easternmost extremities of the service area. And as Mike just pointed out, it's 20 minutes away from our current location. Possibly most important among this is this would continue the NPRSA stated goals to implement development, construction, and maintenance of park facilities in Bothell, Kenmore, and Woodinville, Kingstown. These, among others, are very important, but very simple, factual, and data-driven reasons to choose the Woodinville site. But I feel like all too often we bury the lead in negotiations and discussions about site selections like these. One of the things that this board actually represents beyond those factual decisions is we manage very important and complex relationships. This may come to a shock to all of you, but my understanding is Woodinville may not have always been such an active participant in regional activity. Shocking enough, I know, but that's true. There is a council that now understands this and actively seeking out the level of participation and collaboration with neighbors that it takes to deliver on important things that are hard to do alone. Selecting the site in Woodinville would embrace that partnership and add a site in Woodinville that complements the site that are already in our Bothell and Kenmore areas, cities that are also part of this group. Having additional proverbial skin in the game for a third partner is something that will help out as well to extend us out of the further eastern parts of the NPRSA. The Woodinville City Council has already voted affirmatively in its alignment to acquire the site and to talk with its best site available. I hope everyone will embrace not just this site, but what it means to help grow a very complex and important relationship. This is a partnership that I hope we will move forward with as we select this site. And if we don't see what we need in this highest voted site, then please let us know, because there are changes that we can make as an active partner to make this site done today.
Anybody online? Oh, is there one? Oh,
Brandon McKenna, I'm the city manager for Woodville, and true to form, I'm going to have staff, I'm going to be more brief than my elected officials. This is the traffic map that Mayor mentioned, if we can just pass it along. Had staff put that together just quickly this afternoon. I can, of course, answer questions on it. It shows a 5, 10, and 15-minute drive shed from the Woodville site. And as you can see, kind of the outline of the interstate in yellow. It covers almost all of that within the 15-minute drive shed. Of course, say the far southwest corner of Kenmore and the far extreme east end out by Clarkson area, which is 20-minute drive shed at that point, give or take. So information on the site, I think we put, you have a letter from me in your package today putting forward our sites in Woodville. We think they're great sites, obviously accessible, buildable, they're flat, rectangular, pretty rectangular site. There's a creek on the north side of it that's in your scoring criteria. But even with those buffers, we're still looking at an estimated more than 4 acres of available building site on the property, which I know is critical. We're trying to maximize the amount of amenities, including the aquatic segments. I know very important. This board, your communities, it certainly wouldn't go. I think that's the gist of it. If you have any questions on that, feel free to ask me questions. Thank you.
public comment here in the room. I'll go to online. Is there anybody online? And could the guest user unmute themselves and let us know who they are? We have them. Can we eliminate them then? Can we get rid of them? I mean, if they're not willing to identify who they are.
Legally.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's required. No, they are. Yeah, you have to.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else online? Um, so I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved to approve the consent agenda as written. All in favor, thumbs up. Oh, actually, you can't see thumbs up on the screen. Any opposed? Actually, use your voice since we have people on the screen. All right, it's approved. Let's go to the public hearing. Are we getting a kind of staff overview first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, so, so we've combined the public hearing, for the budget, and also the levy rate for 2025. So, we have proposed, we presented this proposed, 2025 budget at our last NPRSA board meeting. And so you saw that, here are all the numbers. So we're projected to start 2025 at about end of year 2024, 25 at $1 million, and then ending the year with expenditures at, sorry, it's really hard to read. Expenditures at about 2.5 million, and then revenue equaling 1.5. So staff is purposely keeping capital repairs next year pretty light. We're doing two, which are the crawl space repair, and then also doing the new grease trap. Sorry, installing a new grease trap that has been broken for many years. And so we're doing those two projects, and we'll be ending the year at about 1.2 million. And so I just went over kind of revenues and expenditures. Does anyone have any questions about those?
I'll go back to the general fund stuff.
Yeah, go to the third one.
Bond.
Fund. Our bond fund will be emptied by the end of this year, I believe. So we're good there.
Grants fund.
And grants fund. So we'll have out of, I believe, $350,000 grant that we received from King County, we'll have about 180 left after the completion of the youth community center study that we're doing. And then, yep, and so each year the NPRSA board sets the levy rate in King County, Snohomish County by resolution. Under Washington state law, the board may annually increase that levy rate by 1%. We have done that every year since 2021. The CPI for 2024 was 2.57%. So increasing will kind of catch us up or be some midway of CPI. And then the medium taxes on a medium home value will increase by about 2 or 3% per month for tax years in our district. Sorry, we're breezing through this. Any questions or discussion? All right, so we're here.
We do the
Okay, so we open up our public hearing
yeah.
and then hear comments once there's no comment, but close the public hearing. And then we go ahead with answering the
So
question.
we'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and this is on, we're doing these one at a time. So this is on the 2025 budget. Is there anyone in the room that would like to have public comment for the public hearing on the 2025 budget? Anybody online? You can just, I believe you can just unmute yourself if you do. Is that correct? Okay, so they have control of that. All right, well, I'm not seeing anyone that wants to speak to the budget. So, and do we have any remaining questions in the room for staff? On that subject? Yeah, well, we've gone over it before. So, All right, the chair will entertain that motion. Move the motion to approve resolution R 2401 approving the 2025 budget.
I move to approve resolution R 2401, approving the 2025 budget and resolution. And resolution R 2402, setting the 2025 regular levy rate.
Second. Are there questions or discussion? All right, do you want to do roll call vote?
Sure.
And
Chair Trevor,
yes.
okay, for Arms.
Yes.
Board Member Mankey,
Yes.
Board Member Zorns,
Yes.
and then, let's see. Board Member Dabowski.
Yes.
Everyone else is other alternate items.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that's good.
That passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0.
And, Mr. Chairman, Judah thought it was at 6, so he's still wrangling.
So it's 6 yes, 0 no.
6 yes, 0 no.
All
Yeah.
right, very good. Right, so we are moving on to the levy consultant.
Yes.
Yes.
So, staff is working on, the public bid process for, obtaining, levy consultant, services, for our, upcoming levy renewal next year. And so, with us canceling the November meeting, because the board approved a budget for $120,000 for levy consultant services. Our executive director can only sign up to $100,000 authorized for contracts. And so what we need to do then is, if we're not meeting in November, then the board would need to give our executive director authority to execute a contract up to $120,000, which the board has already approved that amount. If we do not move forward with giving that authorization, then we would need to, wouldn't be able to basically onboard or sign a contract with the levy consultant until our January meeting, which is the third week of January, which kind of puts us behind the ball as far as like scheduling. So this is why this was added to the agenda packet.
And we canceled because it was the only agenda item. So, I mean, we could have a virtual special meeting as well. I mean, that would be one way to do this if people aren't comfortable extending that authority a little bit higher. So any questions about this? I'm getting this in the middle. I can't see it.
Sorry. I do have a question for staff. Can we approve the executive director to sign up to 120,000 for this one instance, or is it?
It's just for
Just this.
correct. It's not, no.
Questions? Right, Chair, I will entertain a motion to authorize NPRSA Executive Director to sign a contract between NPRSA and finalist and levy consultant RFP process not to exceed 120,000.
I move to authorize the NPRSA Executive Director to sign a contract between the NPRSA and the finalist in the levy consultant RFP process not to exceed 120,000.
Second.
Ooh, that was a tie. Any discussion? I think we can do this by voice vote. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Are there any abstentions?
Oh, sorry. Any abstentions? Sorry about that. Community centers study preferred selection process. So helpful.
So for ARC, goes over the presentation. I wanted to just make sure that everybody had the information in the information that we added to the agenda bill. So we added that, I just kind of want to go over it really quick. So after our last meeting, staff reached out to all of the member agency staff to basically start the process of formally collecting sites that wanted to move forward into our site selection process. We heard back from all the agencies except for Snohomish County. King County basically said they didn't have anything at the time that met the need of our study. And then City of Bothell withdrew a few sites, but then put forward a new site, which is one that is in the process now. And then Woodinville's site that they have been trying to obtain is on that, remain on the list. And then Kenmore had 2 sites that were submitted that did not meet the minimum criteria that the board approved. And then for Rhododendron Park, we heard from Kenmore staff recently yesterday that Kenmore, the city of Kenmore is now limiting the space that is developable to 1 acre.
Yeah, let's go over as we go through the sites. I think it might make more sense to talk about these nuances, right? Because I think there were several sites.
So there's 3
submitted,
Yeah.
several sites that Boggle submitted.
Yeah.
So I think going through that.
So ARC is going through the 3 sites that were identified that met the criteria that the board approved. We can go over the sites that don't meet the criteria if you would like, but the 3, so I just wanted, so Rhododendron Park is still in, we didn't have a time to adjust the slides. And so Rhododendron Park is on there as 12 acres, but it is identified that only 1 acre is available for development. So I just want to preface that as we're moving into the presentation. And then I'll hand it over to Paul.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me back again. So just as a, thank you. Yeah, just so as a reminder, last time we talked about what the site criteria would be. We then went back and since we saw you last have been scoring what each site comes out to. It's on the basis of those different criteria. And we'll talk a little bit about who's been doing that scoring. For the most part, it hasn't been ARC architects. It has been the technical consultants that are our sub-consultants on the project. So quick agenda, schedule overview. This is mostly just to show that we really need to update the schedule. And we have been waiting to update the schedule until this meeting. We think we'll find out a lot about what things look like going forward starting tonight. We'll then do a quick program refinement summary that nothing has changed there. It's really just to remind everyone why we were at the area amounts that we have sort of stipulated as the base area needs for the site selection scoring. And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of things, the site criteria and scoring breakdown, and then do a quick next steps at the end. Thanks, Barbara. Okay, yeah, so again, everything from that survey 2 right in the middle out is going to really need to be adjusted based on what decisions are made tonight. So we will be updating this. We will distribute it once we kind of know how things shake out. Okay, so this is, again, nothing has changed here. This is just a quick summary of how we got to the square footages that we did. And it's the Lotta Pool 63,000 square feet program, bless you, that takes us to a roughly 4 to 5 acre minimum acreage requirement for the site, which is down at the bottom. I should say that is sort of the ideal site size. And where we landed with a minimum was a 2 acre. Just over 40,000 square feet is what an acre is. So just the building alone, if you were to build the Lotta pool, is about 1.5 acres. And then that doesn't include parking, and it doesn't include outdoor spaces and stormwater and some of those other things. So when we said 2 acres, that really is a bare minimum to get the preferred program to take on the potential site. Okay, and then we showed this graphic last time. This is still sort of about program, but generally, as we're going through this feasibility process, you know, you start out all the things that you might want, things are getting bigger, and then things that cause contraction are cost, of course, and the ability to fit on a site. It appears that we have sites that are available that would accommodate the full desired program. But then the remaining consideration is some of the costs that are associated with the various sites that might be different between one another. And so that's a little bit what we're going to highlight tonight. Okay, so this is just a quick chart of kind of the 2 different categories of site criteria that we identified last time. There's the informational data and the essential data. Those were sort of managed by ARC architects. And the essential data is it publicly owned? I think all the sites met that criteria. And is it at least 2 acres? And as Christine mentioned, some sites did not meet that minimum criteria. And it sounds like it's potentially the case that the site where we are at may not as well. So then on to the technical consultant scoring data. We did not list it here, so I'll try to mention some of them offhand, and then we'll see them on each criteria. But geotechnical engineers, civil engineers, landscape, our recreational planner, our wetland consultant, and our environmental consultants have all been the ones who have kind of owned these points. ARC has met with each of them to understand why they scored things the way that they did, and then our own internal discussions as we digested the kind of data that we got back from them. We've tried to highlight here where we think, okay, maybe this isn't quite aligning with what our gut is saying. Maybe this should be a little bit higher or a little bit lower. That is then for the group. You know, not to say that they're wrong or anything like that. It's just that some of these are nuanced answers, and we really just have categories of 1, 2, or 3 to score these. So, you know, it's kind of walking the razor's edge a little bit there. Okay, getting into the actual site criteria, Rhododendron Park. It is 12.2 acres per our presentation, but that is potentially just 1 acre. The Woodinville site, 6.4 acres, and the North Creek Sports Field site, 3.9 acres. I won't read all of this. You guys are familiar. And we have a lot to get through here, but from a zoning standpoint, they all seem to accommodate the use that we're looking for. That's the last item there. Okay.
Just before.
Yeah. Please.
So I think Rhododendron might have gotten on there because it has a senior center on it. And so this area being able to be maybe reprogrammed where the senior center is. But I know all 3 of our cities have lots of parks that are fully programmed. And this is one of them. So I'm just sort of curious how the rest of the park got on the list. Do you know where?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, if that were the case, all of our parks, all 3 cities would have met criteria, right? Because they all have several acre parks, many of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We just went with the list that was provided to us.
Okay.
I would say
Okay.
if that is the case, there's a couple credits that I want to make sure to highlight. They're the ones that have to do with kind of parallel uses, which we had sort of assumed that the senior center would still be here and that so that there would be some multi-generational benefits to that. And so we should I'll try to point those out on the fly as we go through. Publicly owned, yes, across the board, they're all publicly owned, 2-acre minimum, maybe, and yes, and yes. Okay. This is on to the scored data. Size greater than the minimum. So the way that this is structured is the first line kind of tells what this credit is about. And then the 1, 2, and 3 talks about kind of how you would earn a 1, how you would earn a 2, and how you would earn a 3. And we established this with our first meeting with each consultant, and then they went back and did their scoring and so the rhododendron park got a 3. This is probably one of the ones that we would need to adjust. I think there's the issue of does it meet the minimum criterion for size? And then there's the second issue of if it does, then it probably just gets a 1 on this, on this scoring chart. The Woodinville site gets a 3 and the North Creek Sports Field site gets a 2. Again, these came, or I think ARC still did this one. Yeah. This is for the full site size. This is not taking into account wetland buffers or other things that may make portions of the site unusable for the building. And so that is handled by another credit, and we'll show that in just a second.
It's like my question. That was my question, was were any of them kind of like cut more than half by the environmental concerns? But it sounds like
we will, yeah. There's a graphic and it's interesting. It's interesting to me. Okay, constructability costs. This is sort of the first technically scored one. Allowable use, I mentioned already. Each of the zones appears to allow the project use outright. The Woodinville site has one sort of caveat that needs to be looked into closer, but it appears that outdoor recreation and sports facilities may be prohibited. It is not clear if like a single sports court in conjunction with an otherwise indoor recreations, facility would trigger anything there. My kind of hunch is no, but it's something that would be a bit of a risk element until there's an initial planning meeting to verify that. Yes.
So, yeah, I'm sort of persevering on how we got to these 3. When I look at your spreadsheet, I'm also seeing the Doug Allen sports fields, which are partially programmed.
I can provide a little bit of clarity there.
Okay.
If you like, Chair.
Yeah.
So I think I met everyone in the room. I wasn't at the last meeting. My name is Becky Range. I'm the executive director of the NPRSA. And so I apologize. I missed the last meeting. Just some clarity. I think Christine mentioned it a little bit earlier. After the last NPRSA board meeting, we sent out a request to each city and each agency in the NPRSA, asking them to go back and kind of take a closer look at any properties that you might have been brainstorming, you might have been talking about, and apply their criteria and formally submit what properties your city or agency would like to submit potentially to move further along in this study. There was a lot of excitement when we first started talking about this project. And so cities and staff looked at lots of different things in their respective local areas and boundaries and looked at different things. I know the city of Bothell did look at several parcels and several properties. After they learned a little bit more about the criteria, had a little bit chance to do more internal discussion, they submitted their formal property. So Doug Allen was not submitted as a formal property to move forward in the study. Speaking with my NPRSA executive director hat, we think it's really important to respect our cities and their jurisdictions and their city managers and staff as we participate in this really.
So I think we maybe just need to clean up the spreadsheet because it's a little confusing, I think. Because that Wayne, I think are 2 that are not in red, right? And they're on the spreadsheet. And I know like the ones that Ken marked up off the list are in red. So maybe.
So
we
the
could-
red on the spreadsheet indicates whether or not it met minimum criteria, I believe. Yeah, see, it does not indicate whether or not it's still a site in consideration. That is
Okay,
outlined
maybe we
in,
can just add a column.
that's outlined in the agenda bill.
So am I clear, and please correct me, staff, if I'm wrong, these are the three sites that we believe were formally submitted by all the agencies consulted, but I want to make sure that we have clarity on the other two Kenmore parcels that were submitted and studied, but aren't on this list because they didn't meet the size requirement. Is that, but
Yeah.
these three are the three final submissions.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get our documentation.
Yeah.
So it absolutely needs to be consistent. Yeah.
Go back and
And so have a column that says, taken off the list because X, Y, Z, or, whatever the reason was. I mean, we just need to be clear in our documentation. This is the kind of thing that, does get asked for by the public. And so I just want to be super transparent.
And just to be really clear, in the agenda packet for tonight's meeting, there is a letter from the city of Bothell with a chart that does show those properties, and there's annotations on the far right side that say why they were removed from the list. But we will absolutely take that letter and make sure that the corresponding Excel spreadsheet actually matches up and is completely updated. Absolutely. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, moving on, no problem. Okay, so yes, that was the caveat I mentioned on the Woodinville side. It's kind of the thing I wanted to mention there. Otherwise, they all scored threes across the board on allowable use. Constructability costs, utilities. If a utility extension had to be brought over to the site or even several blocks to the site, that can be some added cost to the project. I think in the big picture, it's not all that much, but it is some added cost. These are all sites that are well within developed areas, and utilities that we would expect to find there are all present, so they've all got threes. And we'll just leave it at that and move on if that's all right. Okay. Environmental concerns. And I think it's that graphic. The next graphic is the one you were asking about. We had a couple different folks weigh in on the environmental concerns. So geotechnical engineer weighed in on the environmental concerns and our wetland specialist. Civil and landscape took a look at things as well, but didn't provide an official score. So on this one, can you see my mouse? Okay. On the previous ones where you saw a score, did I go too far? Okay, sorry. So here's the previous one. Okay, so you'll see that for the most part down below, you'll see, it's not on the slide, you can just go for it. Okay. That we've annotated how the technical consultant actually scored the site. So the G equals 2, G equals 1.5, G equals 3. That's the numbers that came from our geotechnical engineer. Same with the wetland consultant. Wetland gave it a 1 and a 1 and a 2. For the most part, you'll see that those all match 1-to-1 with the scores that are bolded and the actual score that the site got. In this case, since we got multiple scores from different technical consultants, we averaged those scores. So 2 and a 1 came up to 1.5, a 1 and a 1 came to 1, and 3 and 2 came to 2.5. That's how we came to those numbers.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I can't see everything.
Sorry, that's why I'm interrupting. Did you guys do site visits to get to these scores? How did you come up with some of, or how did your technical consultants come up with
Yeah, for the most part, for instance, wetlands, that is available through databases that are, mostly through the county, but they are available to those type of professionals. For the one, when we get to a preferred site, they will need to do, an actual, if there's a wetland on the site or on the adjacent site, they would need to come out and get boots on the ground and do an actual analysis. For this, it's based on available records and their understanding of the area, which all of them work locally. So
So there's been no actual site visit.
they have not done.
Sure, I have a question. Hi. So when you looked at this, this is for the all 6 acres. So it's not, it can be in various places in those 6 acres. So you could move things for the 4 acres that would be ideal and not touch some of the other areas if that was determined to be a.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we would try to advantageously locate the building to avoid, some of these are saying, that there's areas of the site that have low to moderate risk and some areas that have high risk of, seismic activity or whatever. So, we would take that into account when locating the building. Great.
Thank you. On the windmill site, I see a comment about existing laydown yard soils testing. Could you describe what that means? There's some sort of potential hazard there.
That's correct. They recommend soils testing, that's why they gave it a 1.5. And it's because of the potential risk that is there. They're not saying that it is contaminated. They're saying because of the history of the site, there's the potential that there could be contamination. So that's something that should be considered. And so that's a risk factor.
Thank you.
Yes.
And why would that not say adjacent former petroleum cleanups along waterfront? So would that also do any kind of testing, or is that just noting that that happened prior?
They're noting that happened prior and close by. And so that's basically another risk factor. I think that if there had been adjacent former, or rather than adjacent, if there had been former petroleum cleanups on the site, they probably would have given it a 1, but because it's adjacent, they gave it a 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then the North Creek site got 3 for geotechnical engineering. I think mostly because it was a flat, previously developed site, so there's a little bit less risk there. And then there are sort of wetland issues with each of the sites. The north half of the parcel contains wetlands, likely taken up with buffers. And so the next image will show you what those different wetland buffers look like. So let's take a look at that. I hope you can see this better than me. The green shaded area on the rhododendron park is potential wetlands. The green shaded area to the south off of the site, but to the south of the North Creek site is a potential wetland.
Sorry, this is the 12 acre, not the 1 acre?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's no way to tell this for the 1 acre, is that correct, in terms of where?
Well, it is in the south part of the site, as I understand it. So it's
This right here? This little orange thing?
I think that might be just this. I think that's the building we're in. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, which is, I'm just getting this news. So this is kind of where we think that it would occur, right?
Yeah, it's 2 buildings.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that is not within the wetland area. It looks like it is likely outside of the wetland buffer area as well. But it is within that purple hatched region, which is a potential liquefaction zone. So that just means the soils may not be fantastic to build on. It's related to the wetland and the creek, and so it's basically
but it's still just 1 acre versus 2.
it's
as a-
still just, it may be a moot point
Yeah.
because it's still just 1 acre.
Okay.
Correct.
Right.
So, sorry, I'll just finish this thought. So if you're within the wetland buffer, that's one level of risk. That is, probably a regulatory hurdle. It's probably a bit of a delay to things. It's probably some cost. If you're within the purple hatched area, that is less of a regulatory challenge and more of a design challenge. And it just means that we are probably using non-traditional footings, which is not all that unusual, but it's like deep piles rather than traditional spread footings. that's cost. Okay, and then I'm sorry, yes.
No, that was my question. That was
Oh.
very- liquefaction always sounds very alarming.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the same is true of the Woodinville site. Those lines, same idea. The red line there is the buffer. The green line is the setback, from the creek, I believe, and then the purple area is potential liquefaction. And then the, dark black boundary that is to the left and bottom sides of the North Creek Sports Field site, that is wetland buffer setbacks. Why it goes around the infield, I have no idea. I think it's an allowable use or something.
Question.
Yeah, so looking at this, is there a place where we can see usable acreage? You have the total acreage,
Yeah.
but considering this,
We have not summarized that, but we can do that. Yeah.
I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
to get a realistic idea.
Well, I think that part of the challenge is, it's all usable. It's just that you might have to pay more to build the deeper footings.
The pylons to go in, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's usable. And so where you draw the line with usable isn't so much a hard yes or no. It's kind of a consideration of overall cost.
Very helpful.
Okay, so next item is topography and soils. So while you're seeing geotechnical again here, they're helping analyze the topography, they're helping analyze the quality of the soils. The last element was about environmental and wetlands, so that they're basically responding to a different criteria here. Rhododendron Park is not directly in, but close to nearby landslide areas, and it ranges from low to high liquefaction on portions of the site. The Woodinville site is not in the mapped landslide hazard area, and it has moderate to high liquefaction susceptibility. And the North Creek Sports Field site is not in the mapped landslide hazard area, moderate to high liquefaction susceptibility. All very similar. The geotechnical engineers scored them as 2, 1.5, and 1.5 respectively. And then Civil and Landscape added their comments. Initially, we thought we would get Civil and Landscape's just sort of overall comments and impressions, and then we would go in and think about whether we want to move any of the technical consultants scoring up or down to account for that. What we found is that that's really not our expertise, and we want to just leave things as the technical consultants scored them. And if anything, bring them to this group and with our notes of like, well, maybe this should be a little bit higher or lower, and just get the group's consensus. I think that probably comes into play more when it's like the walkability of the site or things where your intimate knowledge of the sites would come into play rather than like knowing that it's 50% loam and 50% sand for the soil quality. Okay, so that was that one. This is accessibility for walking. These scores came from the real estate consultant that we have on board. The Rhododendron Park got a 47 walk score, and that's from like the real estate agents resources, which I don't know exactly what that is, but that's a published walk score that something that's going to be sold would get. So that was a 47. The Woodinville site was a 73, and the North Creek Sports Field site was a 44. And those all earned scores of 3, 3, and 2 respectively. The 44 and the 47 seem very close to lose a point. So that's one place where North Creek Sports Field maybe it's one more, and it's one less. For the group. Okay. Bicycling. This Rhododendron Park got a 57 bike score. Woodinville site got a 78 bike score. North Creek Sports Field got a 65 bike score. All of them were pretty high. as far as that scoring index goes, and so they all got threes. The notes from our landscape architect were that there was a bike lane on 68, and it ends at the southwest corner of the site. That's for Rhododendron Park. We're immediately adjacent to future East Rail Regional Bike and Pedestrian Trail Corridor. That's the Woodinville site. And then the North Creek Sports Field site, bike lanes along North Creek Parkway south, and paved trail along west and south sides of the site. So they all do great from a biking standpoint. Driving, the site's got a 2, a 3, and a 2, easy access from 522, but not very close to I-5 or 405, easy access to 522 and 405, and relatively close to 522 and Highway 405. I imagine you all know this better than a real estate agent. Accessibility, public transportation. This is one where we question whether the North Creek Sports Field site should be 1 point lower. And we'll just open that up to the group. But the raw data that we got back from our real estate agent was that from the Rhododendron Park site, it was a 17-minute walk from the nearest multi-route bus stop. We were double checking that and poring over that information and felt like we found an additional bus stop serving a single bus route, which was on 68, just on the corner there, essentially. So that's only a 3-minute walk away. So overall, that site got a 2. The Woodinville site scored a 3. It's got lots of options from a transit standpoint. Close to the 522 405 transit hub. 3 bus lines are located within steps away of site. You can see our real estate agents really gushing over this one.
It's bus rapid transit at 522 405, not light rail.
Okay.
Just
yes. Thank you. We'll correct
yes, so fast.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. She was jumping out of her seat that she was doing this.
Yes.
It's dark. Okay, yeah.
And then the North Creek Sports Field site was a 23-minute walk to the nearest bus stop. We felt like we found one more that was 15 minutes. But even at 15 minutes and 23 minutes walking, I feel like during that walk, I'd be saying this is a 1.
522 stops the Woodinville at freeway exit and a walk from there. That location is not 23 minutes, but it's not great. It's not a great walk, not a great time walk.
Yeah. Ooh, but it's a 2.
There's a metro bus that goes down as well. And the ST 535 also gets off at Beardsley from there on the trail.
Okay.
It's probably also about 15 minutes.
Yeah. And so just so everybody knows, we were using One Bus Away, Google, and our real estate agent had a specialized one that I wasn't familiar with, and I'm not remembering it. Okay. Relevant adjacencies, target users. This scoring came from Ballard King. Ballard King is our planning and recreational consultant, recreational planner. They scored the Rhododendron Park site a 1. Their primary criteria for that scoring was that it was the highest age, the highest income, and the lowest diversity, and the smallest growth potential. The Woodinville site scored a 2, having the smallest population, middle income, and highest diversity index and high growth rate. And the North Creek Sports Field also got a 2 with middle population, younger age, and small household size. I didn't, yes.
Yeah. So Michelle Evans, if I haven't met you, I'm on the Woodinville City Council and the alternate. I just wanted to know, when you say the Woodinville site has the smallest population, are you talking about the city of Woodinville specifically, or are you taking, I mean,
Thank
literally
you.
across the
Yes.
street is bomb.
No, thank you for clarifying. What he based these numbers on is the primary and secondary service areas for the site and for the project. And the primary service area is characterized by a 1.5 mile radius, and the secondary is characterized by a 3 mile radius. And that has to do with access times, like how long it would take to walk or bike to the site, how long it would take to drive to the site. And based on those times for access, it allows them to calculate whether somebody would likely visit the site. Once a week, that would be within the primary service area, and then more like once a month would be within the secondary service.
I have one question about that. Sorry, I know that Deb can't possibly see me, so.
We'll do the.
I know we do like mirrors. This is probably a no. I realize it's ridiculous, but as we all do comp plans and we're looking at where we'll grow in our cities, was there any analysis of like, today it's this, but in 20 years, we're planning for that?
He has some level of projection capability, I believe, but I would need him to answer that question for one. And for two, I think he was primarily looking at trends leading up till now, and not really going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that would be quite a thing.
And I would point out for the Woodinville site that is smack dab in the area that is currently going to be rezoned for multifamily housing and to hit more of that affordable housing right on that strip there. So I get the high growth rate is certainly a key factor there.
District.
Okay, that's screwed up. Okay. This is just an example of one of the documents that Ballard King provided to us. This is the regional population density map. I'll let you read this in more detail, but the darker the area, the more densely populated it is. This map is only population, but when he was calculating some of those scores before this, it was taking into account more than just population. I'm not going to be able to remember them all, but overall population was one, youth population was another, expendable income for recreation was another, diversity was another, growth potential was another. So that map was more confusing, but it incorporated a lot more factors than just population. Relevant adjacencies, equitable distribution of services. So I want to point out that this one and this one, parallel programming, are sort of offsetting of one another. Equitable distribution of services means that we're not going to put a brand new facility in an area that's already packed with great services for that community. And parallel programming means we are putting a building next to another service that is nicely has a synergy with our facility. So those two things are a little bit offsetting of one another. This first one is equitable distribution of services. That means if we're putting something into an area that is already well served with services, then it would get a lower score. So it incentivizes putting the building where there's currently a lack of services. This was scored by our planner. Rhododendron Park has within the service areas, a community center, senior center on site. This is one of the ones where this would get eliminated. The senior center would get eliminated as an existing service if the building displaced it. And so maybe the score might go up a little bit. There's the existing park and already, which is a great amenity for the community and private fitness, but there are no courts other than I think what's in the existing park. The Woodinville site had 2 community facilities, a fair number of private fitness facilities, 2 private courts and turf fields, future major recreational amenity zone, including complementary and recreational facilities. Again, that is maybe a knock here or a detraction here, but on the next one, it's a bonus. North Creek Sports Field site got 2 community facilities, 1 nonprofit, 1 private court turf, many private fitness facilities. And ARP noted, should this be scored higher, it's inversely proportional to the parallel programming score. And I believe they all got equal scores on that. So in some ways, this one should probably get a 2 also by our reckoning. But again, we didn't want to override our technical consultants and appear to be putting our thumb on the scales. Okay. This is just a map of alternate providers that we found, and then this was developed by ARC, so it may be slightly different than what Ballard King developed. Okay, relevant adjacencies, parallel programming. This is the one we just discussed. They were a 3, and a 2. All of them have pretty good opportunities for parallel programming. The rhododendron site, this is the one I mentioned, multi-generational facility potential that assumes that this building would be staying in use. And if that's not the case, then this would probably go down to a 2. The Woodinville site, connection to trail system and future recreational amenities planned for the area, future regionally connected trail and major recreational amenity zone, including complementary recreational facilities, that got 3. The North Creek sports field site, although there are other sports fields in the area, you have to cross traffic, and a trail system ties to those properties. And also just, I think that is, there's also the thought of you're losing an amenity for you're sort of losing an already well-programmed ball field. So that is sort of taken into account into that score as well. Okay. Outdoor space, our real estate agent and landscape architects weighed in on this. The scoring was equal across the board, 2, 2, and 2, where they each had pretty good synergistic opportunities with outdoor spaces to where the building could have a tournament that maybe is hubbed out of the tournament, but goes to the various fields that are adjacent or nearby. These are all equal. So the overall scoring, again, this is not taking into account the 1 acre minimum at Rhododendron Park, but the scoring was 30.5 for Rhododendron Park. Woodinville site was 32.5, and the North Creek Sports Field site was 28. The major characteristics of the Rhododendron Park was its accessibility by multiple means of transportation. There are some environmental concerns that we went over, and those might add to constructability costs. And the site is located in a less diverse subset of the population and further from identifying target users. It provides opportunities for connection to nearby parallel programs.
Question?
Yes, on the spreadsheet that was sent out, I'm seeing numbers a little different than this.
Yeah, that was a working spreadsheet, and we're still getting information in from technical consultants.
So we should go with these numbers.
This is the one for public digestion. Absolutely.
Yeah, we updated the spreadsheet, so if you pull that spreadsheet off of the calendar reminder, it will be updated. Yep.
That's what.
I just pulled it on. These are different.
We updated the agenda packet. I'll send you all the most current versions. This is what.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, but with what you're saying, if rhododendron doesn't meet the minimum, then that goes from a 3 to a 0, right?
It really just, if it doesn't meet the minimum, it just falls off the page.
Falls off entirely, but then we lose those 3 points for that. Oh,
No.
It doesn't even matter.
fine, yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, exactly. So if there was interest, I mean, that we've already established the desired program. The only way it would meet that minimum criteria is if the program were to change drastically. And that would require us taking several steps back and meeting again.
So what you're saying then is that if that's in fact true and it's 1 and everybody has established a minimum of 2, then we're looking at these 2 at this point. Right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Woodinville site, obviously scored the highest. That's our design team recommendation at this point. I mentioned the various points along the way where we thought, oh, this might want to be up a point or down a point. Running those kind of in our minds, as we were keeping track of things, they don't change the outcome. So even if we want to, like, just for posterity, get the right numbers in there, they don't really change the outcome. Okay. So our next steps. We've already identified a preferred program. Tonight, potentially, we would like to identify or land on a preferred site. In which case that would activate phase 2 of our study contract. And we would start test fitting the site, and we could test fit it in terms of sort of what we talked about earlier, how the building sits on the site relative to some of the things that we know, the wetlands. And additionally, it would trigger more in-depth study of the site, the wetland report that I talked about, potentially an environmental report, a traffic analysis. There's things that we would want to take a deeper look at to make sure that there's sort of no unknown surprises at this point. And then architecturally, how does the building work with the site? Is it up at the street? Is it engaged with the street? Is it back, taking advantage of the trail or views to the creek? We would want to study that and then come back with options to share. And I think survey number 2 is also coming up, and we would want to understand exactly what survey number 2 wants to cover. If we have selected a site, we would want to use our time with survey 2 to get feedback on the options. If there's still a question about the site, survey number 2 could engage the public on site preferences.
In that chair.
Oh, where's my notes?
Okay.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, deeper analysis of the site, say for instance, the windmill site, which I'm assuming, like, would that also consist of soil testing and analysis?
I would have to look back at our contract. I believe it would, and based on what we saw out there, I think it would be a good idea, regardless of whether it's already in our contract.
Absolutely. I think just doing the due diligence, we don't want to get into it and then find out there's a whole bunch of information that has to happen. Yeah.
But we can still choose a site and begin that process, right?
We want to go to, I'm sorry. Good question. We wouldn't go to like putting it in a survey until we had, as Councilman Lisa said, kind of due diligence and know more about the site. Right?
Yes.
I think that would be wise.
Okay.
And it's
We
still.
don't want to get expectations going in the wrong direction.
Sorry, further question on that subject. So in our contract, we have funds for further analysis of the site. Do we have funds for further analysis of multiple sites or only a single site?
Only a single site.
Only a single site.
Correct.
So if we put forward a survey that had multiple possible sites, we could not do that we would have to do that before we did any further analysis on the sites.
Yeah.
So if we want to do the analysis of the sites before they go out into the survey, then we need to select just one site. I was just trying to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Contract there, right? No, not. This is a thought as we're talking about the survey and stuff. I don't know who to look at. There's so many people. I really wouldn't want to put
potential sites that haven't been analyzed in the survey? Because I don't know if you guys ever had a project that didn't pan out in your cities. Very tight. So that's a big caution that I have.
Mhm.
Yeah. I sense that we're all on the same page. So, yeah. Yeah, are there other, you know, I mean, it seems pretty clear what the recommendation is. I guess the question is, do we want to explore a second site? Or are we comfortable going with the one site and doing the due diligence on that? So I'll put that out to the group just for a couple minutes while.
Just wait in.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with Woodinville. But needing to know that the soil is gonna give us the green light. I sit there and I look at the difference in commute time for me coming from downtown Bothell for the North Creek sports fields versus Woodinville. It's a wash with traffic. And it's very easy to get on and off the freeway. At Woodinville, it seems like a no-brainer to me, but we do need to check that box. So that's good.
Just go around, comments.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, you know, based on the scoring, that did rank the highest, and I think that's really important to consider. But I do have that, just that thing about doing the due diligence first and then not put that out too early, just in case it comes back and we need to sort of readjust or shift gears. But I think it's the most qualified site at this point.
From the technical scoring perspective, it seems to me Woodinville site's the most appropriate. I think there may be just one little caution, and that is, as I understand it, Mayor, it's not yet publicly owned. The city's authorized acquisition, including through combination, so we're on a path, but I think that's an important caveat to your deal, but I think that'll be resolved. You know, so we're committed, but just, you know, in terms of the swing there, right? And then this is a little bit beyond that, but just looking forward, the one thing that the technical guys can't do is politics. And that for folks over in this part of the NPRSA is a little bit of a drive. And I would just like to float an idea that this is going to probably take a leg to fund, right? Maybe 26 or something, that we might consider some sort of facilities, perhaps sports fields or something like that in a different part of the district to have folks can see that they can access some recreational opportunities, you know. Just floating that idea.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not proven to this, but.
Well, I concur with everything. We'll continue, but I just want to take one comment. And I think, yeah, I mean, clearly is, you know, floating to the top in terms of the scoring, but, you know, we got to get people to vote for it too. So, and that's, you know, that's going to need to take a strategy. And, you know, when I clocked it from, I put it in my phone last Thursday from Inglemore to this, to the Woodinville site, and it was, depending on how you did it, 19 to 23 minutes from Inglemore. I mean, you guys are getting a lot less, but you know, that was 2:00 in the afternoon on a weekday. So, you know, but I know that the east part of NPRSA is also distant from the side, you know, so it's a balance. How do we get the voters to do something? So anyway.
Cool, they'll go.
Well, and I think
Not
that,
for chess or something.
yeah, so, yeah.
What's wrong with chess?
You know, that's the game.
So I would like to point out, as the mother of a child that goes to Inglemore, and we live in Woodinville, they reorganized the school district, and hundreds of children every day go from this site. We are closest to Woodinville High School. We drive past Bothell High School, and we have to go to Inglemore.
Yeah.
And so we are already doing this all day, every day.
I wish they heard about spare plays.
kids on the other side of the service area. That's what we're trying to serve. I'd also like to point out that we have 3 high schools pretty darn close and in easy access to this. And I know the high schools are clamoring for places where they can have swim team and various swim events. And so just, who the demographic is that this is for, I'd just like to point out, we're already traveling to Kenmore every day because they have to be organized because there weren't enough kids to fill the high school.
Yes, I don't have to do that drive yet. Give me a, but you will. But, yes, I would like, in my mind, I would love to do the deeper analysis of the property for 2 reasons before we go out for the next survey. And the first is, of course, we want to do the due diligence. We don't want to move forward and give the public something that, might not work. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that any option we put forth is something that we can really start to build a coalition behind so that when we do go out for a levy, that we have excitement. I can tell you that since I've been elected, a pool has been like the #1 issue people want to talk to me about. I mean, they talk to me about traffic and parking and things too, but you would be surprised how many people want to talk to me about a pool. And I've always told them the city of Woodville cannot on its own do this, but this is an opportunity we have to serve the greater area. But the other reason I think we should do the in-depth analysis is something that Vice Chair has pointed out. We do not yet own these properties. We are in the process. And if there is a reason why the NPRSA does not want to move forward with the Woodinville site, then we would like to know that. I think in my mind, I would love to do the deeper analysis and know that if that's the site we want to work with, then, we can move ahead confidently.
It's good.
I like it. I like everything that everyone has said so far. I think they're all good points. I will just share I live right by the FEMA base for anyone looking to locate. And this is closer than my favorite target. So I like that it's in the middle of the area. I also like just spreading out our assets. I don't hear about a pool very often because we do have our cute pool. I wouldn't say it's like full service pool. And the free time on the pool is running out soon. It's not gonna be free forever for Bothell residents. That doesn't apply to Woodinville. I just made a new city name. And I think what I do here though, it's community center. And I like how central it is. So I'm really excited to learn what we can do there. So.
Yeah, I would share what the majority of the room is saying about Woodinville here and scoring, but also I'm very, very interested in the demographic. And my people I'm in Northeast King County, and my people in Snoqualmie, the North Bend, the pool stuff. Oh my gosh, you got like the Hatfields and McCoys going on, but that is like the #1 thing. It's a big, big deal. And having something located, if NPRSA really does represent the district, then we need it to actually represent the district. And right now it doesn't have anything in the Woodinville area. And with all the kids there, it just feels like a no-brainer to me. Maybe even the ballparks, unless you're gonna make it pickleball or something. For this reason, and then of course, checking the soil and crossing all the T's and dotting the I's, but it seems pretty clear to me that is the best, with the intention that the board laid out, all the criteria everybody went through, the legitimate focus from each of the cities, putting forward in good faith, taking all the time and in some cases money to meet the very careful criteria that the board set out. It's all done, like check, check, check. Everybody's done what they've been asked to do, and then it's been assessed. And so it's like a really functional board doing what it functionally should with this process. And now you come to the final, this is the one that scores the highest, but it scores the highest as a youth center for the youth. And so having that be in a space where the youth are, I think is super important.
So I know that NSD school district folks were involved in the survey process, right? But not really in the scoping or anything like that. And I mean, they have 8 swim teams. And they are very keenly interested in potentially utilizing this facility, particularly pool. So I just want to make sure, I mean, I believe, I haven't gotten that study that they did a few years ago that looked at all the requirements that they need, but I know they need a, Olympic sized pool. I assume part of this facility would be that, right? So that's kind of minimum.
They do need a competition pool. I don't
Yeah.
think that it needs to be Olympic sized. It does need to have it.
They said.
Okay.
But isn't that the point of the 4 acre versus the 2 acre?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought the minimum was the 2 and then 4 acre was if you had that pool. And with the 4 acre, could it be Olympic size? Does it still meet the?
Yeah, that's.
So there's Olympic size is sort of twice as long. And what we've accounted for is half as long. So it's a 50-meter pool.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to
And-
make sure, I mean, a major use of this facility is going to be the toilet creek. So I want us to go forward. I want us to do the due diligence, but I also want us to reconnect the dots with that around what is this going to be? And I also think, to speaking to your point about generating enthusiasm, I want them to be involved at the ground level on this planning. And I think I thought that they were more involved than they were. So I don't know how to do that because this is NPRSA, but we kind of need a different
And I
planning
can address
process.
some of that. So you brought up more than important issues that we haven't talked about yet. And it is the NSD and their involvement and their support and their collaboration.
Well, and scoping. I mean,
And absolutely.
I don't think this is the case, but if for some reason their needs are totally different than what we anticipated, we probably should know that sooner than later.
Yeah, I actually see them as a really key partner. And to go back to what Representative Dembowski said, this is really about the ballot measure. And how potentially this may or may not get passed. And so I love that you brought that up. NSB is the key, whether or not anything gets passed for the NPRSA. I know all of y'all know that. So I do want to share that I've been in close contact with the deputy superintendent, and we oversee facilities, very supportive, but they also want to respect the NPRSA board and their process a bit. And so what our expectation was that pending your discussion tonight, we would then re-engage with NSD and have a little bit deeper conversations with them. They, are dealing with some of their own issues right now. And so they didn't want to commit to anything, but they're super, super supportive. And you're absolutely right. And if anything moves forward, regardless of what it looks like, you not see the coaches of each of those swim teams being in the room and shaping what this facility looks like. They are clamoring for a facility, and they're very grateful for all the work that all of you are doing, honestly. So thank you so much for bringing. I was hoping somebody would bring it up.
Yeah, that's.
I really extend that as,
We got a question here.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm also supportive of Woodinville, in short, supportive of the Woodinville site. I think it makes sense from geographic location, grateful to the city of Woodinville for being willing to put up the funds for the site. Site that you don't own. As a city that is in a multi-decade long cleanup process, I will say, very important to understand the site characteristics, and contamination prior to purchase. So supportive of that as well. So thank you to board alternates, Lucis, for bringing that up. It's an important thing. So
Yeah, we're in that same boat. So, yeah. Oh, and you were pointing this way. Okay, all right. Yeah, so do we need we probably should vote, right?
Yep.
Oh, we actually have a motion. Carol entertain a motion to proceed with, I'll just call it the Woodinville site. That was one of the three that we reviewed today as the preferred site.
I would like to move that we proceed with the Woodinville site. That's the preferred site.
Second. Any more discussion or any discussion?
Just one
Yeah.
comment, Chair. When the next step is completed, which sounds like a little more technical analysis, I think we owe it to Woodinville to have some sort of a binding agreement if they are going to advance. They're talking about taking steps to acquire. As the faces sometimes change around this table.
Yeah.
They're entitled to some certainty for what they'll do. Like this. So whenever that's appropriate, maybe not with this step, but I would be supportive.
Of something. If we would have to, because we don't know what the voters decide. I mean, yeah, so. Yeah.
Can agree that they won't go do another site.
Yeah.
Maybe like a letter of intent.
Yeah. Good point, good discussion point. Other comments or questions about this motion? And this would be moving forward to do the due diligence as we discussed.
Yeah, I don't get to vote because I'm an alternate, but I just want to say I'm really proud of everybody for like doing this. Like this could have been a really icky thing if we had the wrong people at the table, and you all did wonderful. So I got excited.
Well, I think, one thing that I would say, it's tough to find 4 acres. And, I appreciate, Woodville considering a way, even though this is not currently a way to find the right acreage, a potential site, and that's not an easy thing to do. I think, there's other places out there that aren't programmed, but that Kenmore's needs better, but it's a big district, and I think we need to take that into consideration. But I do think that the challenge will be getting the support. And so it will be an all hands on deck to try to get this done when that time comes. Hopefully, if that time comes, so with the due diligence, but hopefully we don't have to start again. Okay. Other comments? Yeah.
I'm just appreciative of the point that, what is your name?
Becky Range.
Becky, that you made about respecting the voice of the city after we asked the city to do things and they did the things, to not go back and second guess that. So that's a respect issue, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate you recognizing that the school district is respecting your process. And then we're respecting the board's process in this as well, that we've gone through all of the different paces of it. And I know for King County, the aquatics program, the school district scoring, like, are they in or are they out? That was a big deal for my Snoqualmie and North Bend, neither of whom have a pool yet. And it was a big deal for our internal aquatics program and parks to see who's with them and who's not. That's an important consideration. So I love that the school is going to be brought into this much more concretely. Yeah.
And so we had a motion, a second. I think we are ready for, let's do a roll call. These are kind of starting to get significant.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Chair Schroeder.
Yes.
Okay, Vice Chair Dombrowski.
Yes.
Board Member Zorns.
Yes.
Board Member Mankey.
Yes.
Board Member Arndt.
Yes.
Board Member Perry.
Yes.
And Jared Mead's not here. Okay, so yeah, passes 6-0.
Right. We are at that time of night. I think we have other things that we.
Two staff. Two staff.
Let's see the Yeah, it's 6:30.
It'll be really fast.
Okay, let's do
It'll
it.
be really fast.
Yeah.
I think that was so fast. Just real quick, at the last meeting, I mentioned that we were selecting a new facilities coordinator for. We have not yet found the right candidate. That was actually emailing candidates during the meeting a few minutes ago. So we're still working on that and hope to have someone soon. In the meantime, our maintenance facilities work is still coming along. We come into boiler. I'm meeting the fire extinguisher folks tomorrow morning to get that all done. So we're still staying on track with the interim. And just a quick note,
we're in the middle of budget season right now for next year, and I know all of you are too, but it's there are, it's not bright and rosy, but it's also not doom and gloom. And it's good to be in a position where our plan and our partnerships in the community are kind of working. And so it's not like we have money to spare, but there's path forward. That's where it needs to be. So thanks for all the partnership and support.
All right, I'm gonna be really quick. So I just want to, it's like pretty much the last scene we're having for the year. I just kind of want to let you know what we're working on into 2025. So establishing a new tenant agreement for the new levy cycle, negotiating ILA with Bothell for the new levy cycle, and then also there was a few more members that wanted to talk about our administrative structure and if that works or not. And then also capital repairs plan for the new levy cycle. So we'll be starting to work on that in January. And then construction update. So Health and Wellness Center envelope painting. We're wrapping that project up and we have final completion in a few weeks. Senior Center envelope repairs. So we are overcoming some labor roadblocks there. Our contractor is looking to increase the labor force to keep the projects moving forward. I think this is because a lot of people are trying to wrap up their projects, right? The rain is coming. And so I think that the labor is just getting stretched thin, but I have faith in our contractor that they're gonna close our project out strong. So we're hoping to have substantial completion November 5th. I do want to point out for this, it sounds like we have a lot of inside work to do too. We're resealing windows and doing some window repairs. So we hope to have the exterior work done in the next couple of weeks. And then pedestrian bridge handrail replacement, that actually started this week. So hopefully in 2 weeks, you will see brand new handrails out there on our pedestrian bridge. So it's gonna look great. And that's all I have.
Brian, thank you. So unless there's other, future meetings, I think so we'll be meeting in January. We'll be our next one meeting. Right, oh, hello.
And I think for this one, we were looking at are we still considering having this at the city of Woodinville?
Yeah, if you guys are.
I'm just curious to look at my people. I'm still very supportive of seeing NPRSA out there. Yeah, okay. All right, we can update that.
Some stuff. Yeah, we might need to make it a little late for another bus to get out. Just saying. All right, very good. Well, I think we are ready to adjourn. Thank you. Thank you. Stick around for us.
I